So what I want to talk about in today's video is the issue that I'm seeing time and time again with a number of brands that I'm auditing each and every week, in that the way that campaigns are created, and it's just way too complicated. And when I say too complicated, I'm seeing 5, 6, 7 plus search campaigns being run with multiple PMAX campaigns running, and there's no clear structure to why these have been created or why we're running so many campaigns. What happens is we're blurring the lines of data. So we know as advertisers, when we're running Google ads, we need to make sure that we've got clear definitions of data points so we can make better decisions. So all too often I'm seeing campaigns with 5, 6, 7, 8 campaigns running, but there's no clear reason to why so many campaigns are being created. And what's happening, we're getting a fragmentation of data. When I say a fragmentation, what I mean is that we're getting a lot of overlaps. So if we've got a campaign running and we're creating a second campaign, say a search campaign, we need to understand the reasons why we're creating it. If we're just creating something very similar to the original campaign, what will happen is that initial campaign will see a bit of a pullback in conversions generally, and the new campaign that you've launched, what will happen? You'll get some traction initially, but then you'll see a little bit of a pullback. And what's happening is if you've got two very similar search campaigns running, the data is getting confused. You're confusing the algorithm. And then you as an advertiser, because you've created this 6, 7, 8, 9 plus campaigns running, you're just getting a fragmentation of data, and you don't actually know what is working and what to turn off, what to turn on, or how to scale your campaign, or how to horizontally scale the campaign as well as vertically scaling the campaign. And the reason is there's just a lot of campaigns running that are very, very similar. And that's probably the key word that I want to talk about today. So I've created this very short presentation. I just want to run through some of the things that I'm seeing and ways that we really need to be approaching Google. Often less is more, guys, and the more complex we're making it, then we're just confusing not only the algorithm, but like I said, we're confusing ourselves in 2026. So in this presentation, you can see more complexity generally doesn't mean better results for our Google Ads campaigns. Most advertisers, for some reason, think that having a number of campaigns, having complex structures is going to get them better results. And often it's too further from the truth. A lot of the times when I'm taking over accounts, I'll reduce the amount of campaigns that we're getting. Then I know that we've got clear structure. I know exactly then how we can vertically and horizontally scale. I'll go into that in a second. But we can see here, I'll give you an example. 8 campaigns running, 17 ad groups, too many keywords that we're targeting, split budget. Now, split budget means that if you're running, say, 8 campaigns and you're running $20 a day or £20 a day, and you've got that split a number of ways, you're not giving the algorithm enough data to understand exactly what you want. You'd be better off condensing the 8 campaigns into maybe 1 or 2, adding that budget rather than fragmenting the budget across a number of campaigns, just reducing the budget to 1 or 2 campaigns. So not only you can help the algorithm to collect enough data, because remember, Google is all about the data. If you're starting out with Google Ads, you need to run it for a period of time, and then you as advertisers are optimizing the account based off the data. But if you're not getting enough data coming through, which is going to be based on the budget that you start off with your campaign or you're optimizing, it's going to be very difficult for you to know what campaigns are working. And again, we have to have an understanding that we need to be giving these campaigns enough budget to understand how to vertically and then horizontally scale, which is all the sexy things that we all like to do. And again, we come into the fragmentation of data, which I've just mentioned. So this is against a simple scaling account. So maybe a search campaign running with a performance max campaign and then potentially a demand gen. But each one of those has a structure and understanding to why we have created those. Let me give you an example. Say you're running a search campaign, you're getting some fantastic results, and you want to increase the budget by 20%. And as you're increasing the budget, you're getting more conversions, which is exactly what you want to do as an advertiser. But then at some point, you're going to hit a barrier or some sort of a ceiling above your head, which either your CPCs are rising or you're not getting enough conversions based on the 20% increments that you're adding into your budget. So what else can you do? You could break out another search campaign, or you could do something called horizontal scaling, which is where you're bringing in a performance max campaign. This is where I'm saying on the actual graphic that I'm showing. So by adding in a performance max campaign, which is one of my favorite campaigns, you're going to be seen for a different type of audience based on coming away from a search campaign, adding a performance max campaign, and also it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. So straight away, you're adding in a lot more value to your overall proposition for running a Google ad. And potentially you could then maybe add in a demand gen campaign. But again, it's cleaner data, it's better learning. You've got the budget set at the campaign level, and they're good budgets because they're giving you enough data. Let's move on to the next slide. So why is this happening in 2026? There's two major shifts that are happening in Google. So the shift one, Google targets intent, guys. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up with the strategies that are changing within Google. So Google no longer targets keywords by itself. You need to make sure that you're adding in long tail keywords. And by that, you're giving the algorithm more information. So rather than just putting a keyword or two keywords in, try to think of how you can almost make a sentence. And that's the way Google's going. So if you can add in 4, 5, 6 keywords that give the algorithm a little bit more understanding to what you're trying to look for, then potentially you're going to get better results. And this is also going to help you with your negative keywords. If you put in 1 or 2 keywords, then potentially, because you've structured the campaign with broad, then you're going to see a lot less wastage and a lot less irrelevant traffic, because you're giving, as we know, if we give the algorithms more data, then they'll have a better understanding to what we want. And again, it's the same with anything AI. The more information we give, the better prompting that we give, which is exactly what we're doing, then potentially we're going to get better results. Even exact words now pick up close variants. So again, we need to have that same structure when we're adding in for broad as well as exact terms. And meaning matters more than words. So again, if we're giving more meaning based around what we're asking of the algorithm, we'll get better results. Shift two, conversion data is the guardrail. Smart bidding learns from conversion signals. So when I say smart bidding, that's where you're going from, say, a max clicks or CPC to a max conversion or max conversion value strategy. And again, you're tapping into a lot more of Google's AI, and that's exactly where we want to be. You have to start somewhere, you have to progress, and then potentially from there, you're going to be tapping into a lot more signals for Google. Match types matter less than signal quality. So we need to make sure, again, that the quality of the data coming through from our Google Ads is that of a good standard. And when I say a good standard, I'm talking about the keywords that you're targeting, the budget, and also progression of understanding that we need to go from, say, a max clicks or CPC strategy to a smart bidding, which is going to be a maximized conversions. And good data does most of the heavy lifting, guys. So when you're setting up the campaigns, make sure that you've got a good structure. If you've got a good structure, then that's going to allow you or allow the algorithm to then give you the better information to learn more of what you want. But again, setting up these campaigns is vitally important. Conversion data and smart bidding is exactly what you want to do. So complex ad structures don't really work. We don't need to be making them as complex as possible. Everything should be around keyword themes. And then from there, we're optimizing the data that we're getting, but we're helping the algorithm, guys. And also, once we're getting data, we can better optimize to know whether to vertically scale or horizontally scale. So again, let's move on to the next slide. I just want to do one more slide. So I'm going to talk about scaling, because once you get Google Ads right, it's a fantastic platform. There's a 4-step scaling frame that I use. And again, take this, use it, and think about the way that you're creating your Google Ads. So streamline your structure. Less is more. Consolidate, run less campaigns, make sure you're adding in enough budget to get your 10, 15, 20 clicks a day minimum. Again, if you're running bigger budgets, that's absolutely fine. Once you're getting good results, you can then start increasing the budget for your Google Ads. And all you're doing is increasing it by 20%, waiting 5 to 7 days, and then looking at the data. And then potentially you're then looking to scale further as you get the conversions that you want, whether it's lead generation or e-commerce. But we need to make sure that we're understanding that we don't want to be going over 20%, because if we do that, potentially we're going to put the campaigns back into a learning phase. So if you're running a budget of, say, 300 a day, and then you increase that by 600, then potentially it may take weeks for that campaign to recover, because you've increased the budget way too high. You've doubled the budget. Anything over £50, $50, we need to increase it by 20%. You'll get to where you need to get to quite quickly if you increase it by 20%. Look at the results that you're getting. If you're getting the results based on that 5 to 7 days, then potentially increase the budget again. And again, once you've done that, then you're going to get better results. And then number 3, segment when CPCs rise. So break out the winners on locations, product, service when budget stops working. So as you're increasing, then potentially, if you're hitting any type of barrier, like I mentioned earlier, then what you can do is look to horizontally scale. So vertically scaling is where you're increasing the budget as you're getting good results, but then you can't keep scaling forever. At some point, you're going to hit a resistance, whether that's a CPC resistance where your cost per click is rising faster than what your conversions are getting. And then it's becoming very, very hard for you to continue to scale. From there, you can do something which is called horizontal scaling. So say you've got a search campaign and you're vertically scaling, you hit some sort of a barrier, then you're thinking, what else can I do with a search campaign? Horizontally scale. This is where you're adding in a performance max campaign, guys. And again, it gives you new placements, broader themes, cold traffic only after core structure works. So again, by horizontally scaling, you can really make a difference to your campaign. But each of the steps, there's a clear understanding to why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and then how to implement the strategies based on the results. So again, I hope this makes sense. So I just wanted to give you some of the things that I'm seeing on a regular basis. I'm able to scale campaigns. I've put some examples, 400 a month to 4,000 a month and 20,000 to 33. We do this all the time. And the way we do this is by following this structure, having an understanding of the platform to get the very best. And like I said, a lot of what I do is once I'm taking over campaigns from other brands, a lot of the time it's consolidating, reducing the amount of campaigns to get clear data, to make sure we're not getting fragmentation of data, but we're consolidating, we're getting the result, and then we're vertically scaling, horizontally scaling. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I just wanted to share some insights of what I'm seeing in 2026. We're about halfway through. So as I'm recording this in July, again, this is what I'm seeing time and time again. So if you want me to look at your Google Ads, I offer a 10-15 minute audit. I'll go into your Google Ads. I'll look at this type of structure and see how we can potentially, first of all, stabilize your account and then look to horizontally and vertically scale your campaigns and help you to restructure your campaigns to make them profitable. So I hope that makes sense, and I will speak to you guys soon.